sorry, I got my sunglasses. I'm very light sensitive, and I'm from New York. We've been here a couple of years, and one of the things I'm concerned about is just the lack of awareness about autistic human beings and things like lighting that make it so hard for us to go food shopping or give birth or go to a library. I mean, things that other people take for granted are such a struggle in this area, and it feels very much to me like it's 1950 that in terms of education about autistic people, that it just policies that in New York are, have been in effect for 50 years have not even been started here yet. So things like housing, where autistic people have to compete with people that are poor, not that autistic people are also not poor, but for people who take substances to survive. There's a competition for an apartment as opposed to understanding that should not be happening. And so my commitment is to work on that for myself and my family. I had 3 autistic children, one is deceased, but I have 2 other ones, just to work on bringing autistic awareness into the 21st century. I'm also really concerned since the election, no joke, I mean, I couldn't get up for a week or shower. I was so distraught and outraged and depressed, and I talk about the whitest of white men. I mean, thinks he's our president. I mean, and so after being debilitated, I got enraged and decided that a moving target can't be hit. You're better off being a moving target. So I've been working on things that people say are ridiculous, like the recount and the Million Woman March, and trying to contact every elector and every person on the oversight committee and Paul Ryan, and just doing everything I can, even if it comes to naught, just so that my voice is heard. And I stand up and say, this is injustice. I have to do that to not go crazy or kill myself, or, it's horrific. It's just horrific. And in coming here and teaching at the university, I was surprised because in New York, I think too, we talk about our immigration experiences, those of us who are white and came here by some level of choice, we talk about our immigration experiences. And so I would ask the students, well, how did you get here? How did your family get here? And the white students had it was a secret. They didn't know. Nobody had ever talked to them about how they got to the United States. And they didn't know, some of them are German. Was there a secret? Was there something hidden that the families didn't want to tell them? Was there shame? Was there pain? As there is in every immigration experience of a person who comes here somewhat by choice. And so I kind of dedicated myself to reopening that experience for people, because if they could understand a little bit about their pain and suffering, that memory that Tim talks about, maybe there would be some connection to empathy. White fragility, it's also different than New York. Not that there's not white fragility everywhere, but it's a little bit different here, where if you say to students, white fragility, they get very defensive. I'm not racist. What do you mean? I wasn't there, it's not my fault. White fragility. That talking about white fragility here in this area seems to create a lot of defensive. Now I'm used to sort of taking it for granted, of course, there's white fragility, and so what do we do next? And so here I'm kind of propelled back to 1961, and we have to talk about it so gingerly, and people get upset, and but I think I have something to bring here. I think my chutzpah and my Jewishness, and I think I have something to bring here that we can talk about these things, and maybe break through some level of that. In terms of personal stuff, I've decided to be more outraged and have more contrition both, even though they sound paradoxical, that I'm going to be outraged. I feel like it's appropriate to be outraged after what's happened to us in this election, and who this man is and what he stands for, and all the women that have been propelled back into PTSD, all the sexual abuse survivors that are in emergency rooms, after we elect a rapist, and all the people of color, and all the things he's done. I'm going to stand up and be outraged. By the same token, I want to express real contrition, not intellectual contrition, but real contrition. I want to cry and tell you I'm sorry and really mean it, and have you forgive me, have people forgive me, and not just not bury that. Sometimes for me, maybe for everybody, I'm so sorry that I can't say I'm sorry. You know, I'm just so sorry. So I'm going to try to open those doors more to the rage and the grief and let it flow and let myself do that and not be so contained as white people can be. I want to be more like that.
I guess I'm going to pass because I ran out of solutions to world problems.
Tim?
Yeah.
I want to say, my heart speaks out to the young lady over here. I too have light sensitivity. But on the issue of white fragility, I've never heard it said that way before. In the Flint area, as I walk through the neighborhoods or the shopping centers and I talk with people, I'm wondering if that fragileness may not be the result of secret knowledge, what we call blood knowledge, that they ain't all white. I think there's been a lot of racial mixing that's gone on, kept in secret, and now they look right, which is okay. Just as long as you acknowledge, this is where I came from. Blacks have had to do it for, what, 400 years? But I just wanted to say that's what I think might be behind some of that.
I would say also, I also teach at the university, and my students don't even understand the concept of white privilege and power. They're shocked when I sit in class. So that fragility is, I think, the natural defense mechanism. Well, you couldn't be talking about me as a racist. And yet, classes will, if you let them divide. You know, if I let them choose their groups, I'll have a white group here and a black group here, and a girl group, a boy group. They'll separate, and so I keep it kind of mixed up. But I do think that and my white students are coming in from the suburbs, right? And so that's the other thing. There is already a natural division. So
I feel like we're all going to turn to you because I'm familiar with your work and how much students are here at Flint. So I was going to say I'm commending you, but more so for being willing to be outraged, because I think some of us are told not to be outraged. And so I know what it's like to contain. And I'm not saying outraged because you're white or anything. I just love the fact that you said, I'm going to be outraged. Boom. That's it. And so it's refreshing to hear that, because I worked so hard at zenning my life away and containing it. And sometimes I want people to just be angry. So thank you.
Can I share with the group? I had Tim come to my Head Start classroom. I teach in Beecher. And first of all, they were a real live Indian is coming to the class. He was felt up. He was, climbed over. He was prepared, and I think that's how we have to stand on guard, how we can get more people to understand, especially children with special needs, is to introduce them, having them come into our class. Tracy is coming to go do poetry to my class, and so, and then Mr. High School teacher is coming, and we're going to do just arts and crafts, because he just loves arts and crafts. But I think we have to do more of this slowly and methodically, and do it with a purpose, because it's important. Because coming from a very affluent, very privileged background, and having to deal with learning, because some of my staff that I work with are like, how long have you been teaching? Thinking, I've been teaching early childhood, specializing in the Flint area, because when we got married, we made a commitment to come and change and be powers of change. that, you know, I can get up and I can nay like the best of them, and I can, you know, do songs and dances, and they're all like, oh, this is big. You know what you're doing. I'm like, so I think in some of that white fragility is you gotta also have the African American accept that we kind of respect and understand your culture. And I think that's where we're at that, on our point is mushing it all together and getting that acceptance and realizing that we are a community. And because in the last 20 years, as an implant, I can see that it has crumbled. It really has. And that's sad to see. And that, because I was always impressed with friends. We're all able to come to my house and nobody said, oh, there's a black person here. Or, there's a lesbian at the party. You know, it was just like, okay, we all knew and we all accepted and I miss that.
And I think it's about how casual we are when we accept possible confrontation. I have a white nephew. Guy named Collardey adopted his grandfather. So he's running around one day and he stops, just skids to a stop. He's like 3 years old. And he looks at me and he says, Mary, why are you so brown? I didn't know that his mother was standing in the kitchen door and halfway in shock at the time. Because she never discussed it. Never had to. But she didn't know how I was going to respond. And that's the response that I think levels it out. Because I looked at the kid and said, just because God made me that way, like he made you whatever color you are. And we went on to talk about something else and he took off playing the game. Or that kid who comes up and rubs you and he wants to know, does this come off? No, baby, don't come off. And tell your mama while she's making my coffee, I want my cream to about there. You know, I just kind of take it loose because one of the things I observed coming from Mississippi is that, how shall I say it? The slave culture knows more about the master culture than the master culture knows about the slave culture. And that was out of necessity because you had to know if you were going to get sold the next day. And you also had to know how, you know, what master liked and all of that kind of stuff. So we're about exchanging information. And this is the communications age.
So just two things that I would add as a closing for this great group. One, first of all, is just how grateful I am for each and every one of you and what you have brought here tonight and shared with us tonight. I'm so grateful. I'm sure all of you are. There is a practice that is slowly growing internationally, actually, called restorative justice. And the idea is that in Western society, when you break into a house, or you steal something, you create some crime, traditionally you're punished for that, cop arrests you, go through the court system, blah, blah, you know, the whole scenario. Restorative justice is not about that. And restorative justice is grounded, literally, in the practice of traditional Native American society, who didn't even have a word in their language for crime. There was no such thing. When something bad happened, it was an indication that the tribe, the community, had an issue that it needed to deal with. The focus was on an individual. but it was a community concern. And so they gathered in a circle. And symbolically today, in cities across the US and Canada, judges, lawyers, doctors, electricians, the auto assembly people or whatever, will come to a circle with the offender and say, what happened? And what do we got to do to make this right? What do we got to do to repair and restore the harm, the hurt that was caused? And how do we as a community need to do better to make sure that doesn't happen to any individual? Yeah. Wow. That's different. And the last thing that I would leave you with is a story of about 7 years ago or so. My wife and I moved into a house in Ohio, high above what's today called the River. And I had these strange visions. This is where I first got the image of, I woke up in dead sleep one night, an image of a circle in my head. It wasn't a dream really, it was the image. But I had the sense that I need to start a community garden and form it in the shape of a circle. And I did that there in Ohio. I initially didn't have any reason. Ooh, gardens in a circle. What a crazy way to grow stuff. We're used to, rectangles. Well, it turns out that was a traditional Native American way of growing crops to honor the medicine wheel of life. Grow in a circle. Honor the infinity of life. And I later learned that 100 years earlier, a Native American chief, Gray, had been exhumed in the process of digging up the basement of the house. And that was like the Twilight Zone. It's like, whoa, okay, I'm listening, I hear you now. But so there was that strong connection. It was another moment in my fragile life of saying yes to the spirit world, reaching out to me, who I am, and what I need to be about this life. And I only bring that up as a closing to this group tonight, to invite you to tap into that same energy that is beckoning. We each have our story, we each have our past that is still reaching out to us and saying, please hear me now, move forward. That's the direction. But so often we're so distracted with smartphones and internets and whatnot. We don't get that message. We don't hear it. Stop the interference. Tune into your deep inner self. And whatever that thing is that's trying to reach you, get your attention, believe it's worth it. And again, I'm grateful for each and every being tonight and sharing all that you have. And I hope it makes a difference for our community as we move forward. We've recorded our suggestions and suggestions for what to do in the future. I hope each and every one of us do something as a result of what we've experienced tonight. And I welcome you to contact me anytime you wish. I have links to historical documents, to the deeper history of Jefferson County, for example, and other things I would be happy to share with you. send me an email, write down my email address, and send me a note. I'm happy to share whatever I have.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Somebody